No one needs to suffer alone. No living person is beyond help. Now, addict.
We played to 90,000 in the Superdome, 95,000 in Dallas, and 100,000 in LA. Every town we cracked 80,000. Our second album hit the stores the opening day of the tour and it went golden by noon. The first album was still #1 and our new single topped the radios and video playlist by Friday. We were hot and we were loving it. A Rolling Stone interviewer asked me what it was like to sing to a tenth of a million faces. I said it was like having 100,000 people say I love you at the same time. There's this song I do and I shout out to them on it, hey, and they shout back. Man, you ought to feel 100,000 people screaming hey at you. You can hear it above the stage monitors, even above Jeff's solo. This enormous wall of love. You've got to give them all that they want to make sure that they keep yelling because it can't ever stop. After you've had it, you can't go without it. And you can't do it without the preparations either. The blade, the mirror, and that beautiful candy. I spread those lines out before the show, and for 2 hours, there's no place else in the world for that 100,000 or for me. Then, when it's over, I can finally hear a little bit, and the roadies are busy sweating out front. I gather up my free bass kit and heat the stuff, and I smoke it, and it hits. Ah, it hits. Somebody is always trying to drag me down, though. Telling me I'm trashing my brain and murdering myself, or telling me about somebody that coke killed. Like when one of our roadies got so gone on the stuff that he fell under the soundtrack in Phoenix. Well, I'm telling you, his mind had been rotten for months. But the doctors tried to blame it on the coke, too. Brain wipeout, they said. I just don't want to hear about that stuff. Anyway, I don't have time to think about that stuff. I have a show to do. So, we went home to San Francisco. We knew that the opening show would be big, but when we hit the stage, we saw people wall to wall. Word was it that it was the biggest indoor crowd in history. Frisco had missed us. They screamed for us and we sang and we worked them. The applause for every number was so big that we couldn't hear to kick the next song until we got them to settle down. We finished the show, but they weren't through with us. They were screaming. We went back out and they would not give up until we had been back 3 more times. Finally, nobody had 1 ounce of energy left. It just ended like some huge party breaking up, with everybody too tired to do anything but just go home. And the helicopter was supposed to pick us up, but the cops couldn't keep the cars off the landing pad. Nothing within 20 blocks was moving any place on the ground for at least 2 hours. So I settled back with my free bass kit to ride it out. I got the torch and I started to bake. I loaded the pipe and got the lighter down real close so the first hit would be a killer. There was a big flare when it lit, but I had had that before. I settled back on an old couch and waited for the bass to hit. It hits. I rolled my head back and forth on the couch, loving the rush. Then I caught enough reality to smell something burning. I spun my head around to look, and my hair got past my face and it was in flames. I twisted my head back and forth, but that just spread the flames to my cape. I was screaming, but there was so much noise in the corner that nobody could hear me. I ran into the hall, but somebody threw a blanket over me and put the fire out. They called the paramedics, but we were in the middle of the biggest traffic jam in the city's history, and all the help were miles away. The flames were out, but I couldn't really sense it. It felt like the burning was still going on. They finally came to help me, but it was too late.
I loved elementary school. The rooms were always bright, and I always knew the answers. Then, everybody grew up all at once. Everybody but me. And I couldn't catch up. My first morning in junior high lasted forever. I didn't know anybody in any of my classes, and I got sick in the gym and threw up on the floor. I ran home and I begged Mom, please don't make me go back.
Michelle, you have to.
I couldn't sleep. I could still see those girls in class. So I went to the kitchen, to the cabinet where we kept the liquor. I got a glass and poured, I don't know, something. It tasted terrible, but I felt a little better. I got sleep. The next day was just as bad, though. I made it through the gym, but nobody would get anywhere near me, and they were all giggling. I knew what I had to do. So in the mornings before school, I started taking a little drink. It was okay for a while, but then it was like every teacher decided that
Tomorrow, each of you will read your report out loud to the class.
I couldn't sleep again. So I'd take a drink at bedtime. Then, before the class where I had to read, I'd go by my locker and get a sip of whiskey from a fruit juice can I kept there. I tried to quit drinking a lot of times. I could tell it was getting out of hand, and I got sick a lot. But then there'd be the star tests, or we'd have dancing in the gym, and there'd be guys there, or it'd always be something. Then Art Phillips moved here, and he was gorgeous. And he was in every class I was taking. Luckily, he didn't know I was alive. But one Tuesday night, the phone rang.
Michelle, this is Art
Art?
Phillips from all your classes.
Oh, hi.
Listen, this guy's having a party Friday. You want to go?
Mom's got something she wants me to do now. Can you call me back?
No problem.
I had a couple of drinks before he called back.
What's the word?
I guess it'll be all right. The party.
Terrific.
I've got to go now.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
I drank until I passed out. I was a wreck all week, and Friday night I tried to get Mom to tell Art I was sick, but she made me go. I relaxed a little when we got to the party. There was a lot of beer around, and Art got one for each of us.
How about something to go with it?
Pills?
Sure.
I'd better not.
Go ahead. Everybody's doing it.
I'd never mixed drugs and liquor before, but I took the 2 pills Art had been drifting around, and when he came back, he said,
Try these too.
"What are they?"
I don't know. They had some over there.
I was really scared. A girl in my room the year before, Sally somebody, went out partying one night, and she got to drinking and taking whatever pills anybody gave her, and she overdosed. When they got her to the hospital, the doctors couldn't do anything to help her because she had taken 4 or 5 different kinds of drugs, and the tests couldn't trace them all. They just had to let her lie there, and she was in a coma for 12 days. She never came back to school. They had to put her someplace where they could watch her all the time. Art kept giving me more pills. I'd tried to throw them away, but he'd catch me and bother me until I'd take some.
What's your problem?
I was too far gone to resist, and he was too full of beer and drugs to listen. party turned into a nightmare. Kids were getting sick everywhere. A lot of them were crying or screaming as if someone was torturing them. It was horrible. People started passing out all over the room. Art was the last one to fall. Except for me. I looked around. The room was like a battlefield where both sides had lost the war. But I thought I was all right. I was still up. But then my head started swimming and my vision began to fade. The last thing I saw was somebody coming through the door carrying a six-pack. He dropped it and ran for the phone, and he had dialed the first 3 numbers. When I passed out too. By the time the cops and the ambulances got there, some of the kids were starting to come around a little. But they all had to be admitted to the hospital. Art kept slipping in and out of consciousness for 3 days before he finally stabilized. It was weeks before the doctors could tell how much damage the drugs had caused. They had caused a lot. But in one condition or another, everybody who passed out at the party eventually woke up. Everybody but me.
I They got me for burglary of habitation. Uh, the front door was open. Weird, isn't it? They're almost always open. Or there's a key under the doormat or in the mailbox. You can tell it was an old guy's place. Old books and pipes lying around, everything dusty. He lived alone, it looked like. But I wasn't worried about him. I had to get a couple $100 to my dealer, or I couldn't get the drugs, and I needed them. His TV was too big, and black and white anyway. Those people never owned stereos. There there wasn't much in the back either. But I knew people at that age kept some money stashed someplace. The depression or something made them that way. Uh, I was digging through his shoes. There's money there a lot of the time. When I heard the front door open, I was stuck. He'd be blocking the halls, so I crouched down in the closet. Um,
Who's there?
I quit breathing. I heard him come into the bedroom.
Who's there?
Uh, I heard him touch the doorknob on the closet, and I slammed against the door. When I started to get up, he was holding a gun on me.
You're a girl? What do you want?
Uh, I just wanted to get warm. He wasn't having it.
Well, get up from there.
I saw a cane leaning in the corner, and I grabbed it, and I smashed his hand with it, and I snatched up the gun. A lighter. He was covering me with a lighter. Oh, okay. Well, I know it's here someplace. Where is it?
Why are you doing this?
Give me the money and I'll get out of here. Then he really sent me back.
You want the money for drugs now, don't you? Well, you can't have it. Not for that.
Where is it?
If you're hungry, I can give you some food. If you need help, I'll try and help you. But not for that.
Where is it?
You might as well use it on me. I'm not going to give you any money.
I was really strong by that time. I started swinging the cane at him. He never said anything, never yelled or anything. Stop. It was like he was the only thing between me and the king high of all time. Hit him again and again, and then the cops were on me. The ambulance guys were fixing him up, and the cops were trying to get a statement, and he wouldn't give one. They kept talking about how I'd beaten him up and how I was a junkie and that maybe I'd get locked up for good um and that he still wouldn't give a statement. Then he did the weirdest thing of all. They were talk they were taking him out, and the cops were still trying to get him to sign, but he just looked at me and said,
No, she doesn't know what she's doing.
Not like I was crazy, no, but like he forgave me because I really didn't know what I was doing. For the first time in my life, anybody cared one thing about me, one way or another. And who was it? The guy I had just beaten up. Maybe, uh, maybe I could straighten out, make a living or something. Maybe. I don't know. I just I hope the old guy's doing all right. I want to see him later when I know what I'm doing.
You want to know something, lady? I do paint. I also do hairspray and gasoline and glue and felt tip markers. And I've also been known to do cooking sprays. You want a huff, baby? Nah, this paint is all mine. What you looking at like that about? Oh yeah, that's that girl. You don't even know what you're doing to yourself, look. Well, Luisa knows. You already told me when you were social workers and drug counselors and welfare shrinks. This will get you weird and then it'll flop you out on the pavement because it's starting to chip your brain cells away, and then you will walk like you're a sloppy drunk if you can still walk, and you will not want to eat a thing, and you will not want to do anything except huff. And then less and less of your mind will work, and you will do crazy things to yourself and anyone who happens to be standing around. And your kidneys will melt, and your liver will quit, and what's left of your brain will turn to jello. And you will fall down, and you will pass out, and before long, you will be dead. Aw. Aren't you sad about that? We've got to help the poor Chola girl. Let's send $10 to the Catholic charities. We'll save your money. The bottom of the barrel's 50 feet above my head, man. And we both know you could not care less. And maybe I don't care either. Maybe. So leave me alone, man. I'm busy. That was me in October. But by Thanksgiving, my mind was sliding and I tried to think things out, but they wouldn't come together. And every day I just huffed until I dropped. It didn't matter where. On Christmas Eve, I was dead under the wheels of an 18-wheeler I never saw coming.
The second they told my dad he had a baby son, he started writing my Olympic gold medal acceptance speech. But I started disappointing him right away. This guy at the office had a baby girl almost the same day I was born. He and Dad had a standing bet of $5 for who'd do what first. Dad lost $45 when that girl crawled, Walked, said her first word, said her second word, said her first sentence, cut her first tooth, cut her second tooth, ran and hopped on one foot before I did. He made it an even 50 when she won her first race. She ran it against me. Dad could hardly handle it when I cried through every softball practice, made goals for the other soccer team, and when the coach thought the best spot for me on the second grade football team was as a manager. I went out for sport after sport and I kept being the last one chosen.
I don't get it, Tony. I was first string all the way. MVP in college football for 3 years. Medicine, wrestling, marathon, and swimming. What's the matter with that boy? There's gotta be some ability in there. I just know it.
But it didn't look like there was any ability, any place. Then I got to be about 15 and Dad decided I just needed to get some beef on me. So we went down to the gym.
Here, they got the best super weight training program. The best thing in the world for you, Bart.
I don't know if I had turned a corner or if it was my age or what. But as soon as I started on those weights, it felt exactly right for me. Maybe it was just that it was me alone, me against me instead of against everybody else. The gym opened at 6 a.m. and I was always waiting by the door. They had to throw me out every night. I'd been doing some bench pressing one afternoon when this guy came over to watch me.
Hey, you're doing pretty good. How long you been at it? Couple of weeks?
Yeah,
Hang in there. You'll get definition after a while.
I'm ready for it.
Of course, you can rush things a bit.
No thanks. No muscles in a pill. I don't need it that easy.
Are you kidding? You work twice as hard, but a few steroids get you so you can.
Nah.
Hey, I'll be around.
In a week, I hit a standstill. I couldn't pump more and I wasn't getting any definition. Worse, I didn't have the endurance to work out as long as I wanted to.
How's it going?
Great.
Yeah? How much more you been doing since yesterday?
I don't know.
Come on, I never knew a lifter who couldn't tell you an ounce. You're frozen up.
It's coming.
If you want to wait. Come on, try some of these.
Listen, they'll get me past this?
They'll sell you past this. See you tomorrow.
So I met steroids. At first, I thought it was nothing. I didn't feel any difference. But that night, I was still pumping hard when they got ready to close the place. A few days later, I was lifting the lights out of that gym. In 2 weeks, I was ready to make a big crossover on the weights. Soon as I got to the club, I went over to the bench. I've been pressing 185 easy, so I started working up to it. 115, 135, 155, 185. No problem. I set 200. It went up like nothing. I took another pill. I was set. I loaded 125 pounds on each side and lay down on the bench. I grabbed the bar. My heart was racing. I pushed 250 up. I started it down. Then the power in my arms shattered. My elbows collapsed. I saw the weight coming, but it was too late to get out of the way. Some guys were running towards me. The bar smashed into my neck and kept pushing until I nearly touched the bench. Then it just rocked there.
When I'm in jail and they're really not in jail very much. Always get put with the nicest people. When the cops come and get me, I never know what it's really about. Someone told me one time that when you hurt somebody or kill somebody, you get put in jail for doing that, or you get killed for doing it. But I didn't hurt nobody, no kill anybody. I told them that I didn't, and they kept asking me why. I said that, and I said because it was true. Until a nice person walked in, and he said, "Oh, that's Andy." I told him that I didn't hurt nobody, no kill anybody, and he said, "I know, Andy, I know." That was why he was there. So I stayed in jail for like a day or 2 days, and when I got out, I meet some new nice people. I don't know what happened to the nice people I was with before. Probably move while I'm in jail, I guess. I remember I meet some special people. Real special. But for some reason why, I just don't remember. I remember one day that I woke up and they were gone. They did not tell me where they went at all. And I was starting to cry. And I was starting to really think where they went. So I waited there for the longest time until I got really hungry. I remember that for sure. I went around back to find something to eat. And I found a cat that I really like a lot. And then this lady walked up to me. And we started to talk. And then I started to meet some new nice people. But I couldn't take the cat, which I was kind of a bit sad about that. But the people were nice. And I was with them for a very, very long time until I went to jail. And when I got out, I guess they moved. Now, I'm kind of scared in jail, not because how cold, dark, and foul it is, but the people in there, they're not just not good. They're very mean. I they do things to me that make me hurt. And I tell them to stop, but they just won't. And there was 2 or 3 of them. And I'm very scared. And I know I'm tough, but I can't face 2 or 3 of them at all. And they always bring a knife, and I'm very scared of it. And what if the policeman isn't there when they bring me in? When it's the same old thing. I didn't kill nobody, nor hurt anybody. They just don't not believe me. They might kill me then. But I'll meet the nice people soon. Maybe tomorrow. And when I get out, this time they will not leave, nor I will not go back to jail again. I'll live back where I live and find that cat and bring him back with me. Everything will be alright then. I just hope that everything will be alright.
Do you know what a hardcore junkie does? Junk. They only stop to hustle more for more money and for more junk. Life is simple. That was me a year ago. 16, beer at 12 from the refrigerator, grass at 13 from that rich kid in math class, speed at 14 from a pharmacist who found a profitable sideline, acid, angel dust, crack, and at 15 from a guy who taught me how to get into houses without even knocking, and shooting up anything I could find at 16. But I was thoughtful. I took somebody with me. What did Jana have going for her? Only a nice home, 2 parents, both related to her, good grades, friends all over the place. She needed to be rescued. So I got her a little drunk a couple of times, and I got her a little high a bunch of times, and I got her a little hooked. Except nobody gets a little hooked. And the higher you get, the farther you fall. One day I was counting up on what my life had turned into. It was easy because it was all in a bucket full of pills they just pumped out of my stomach. There hadn't been anything to shoot up that night. But any OD you walk away from is a good last OD. Somewhere in that bucket, I saw a message. Get out now. I tried to pull Jenna out too. I found her at the dealer's house where she stayed most of the time. but I couldn't get through her.
Come on, Neil, honey. Here's some great stuff from Uptown.
We have to get out, Jaina.
Get out, Neil, honey. When you've got your candy, you don't go looking for it someplace else.
So I came out alone. My parents knew my story, and by then somehow they got me into a resident detox center. The center brought me down off the junk and helped me straighten my head out. When I hit the streets 6 months later, I went back for Jaina. She was crashing at a new place, a guy told me. The cops had roused the other one, and that same old smell told me I was back in the middle of it. But I wasn't ready for what I saw. Jenna and I had done more than shoot up together, and it was showing. She was pregnant, 8 or 9 months, it looked like.
Surprise!
What are you doing here?
What I always do, Neil, honey. Let me fix that arm of yours.
You can't still be using.
The baby doesn't mind. I think she likes it.
When are you due?
I don't know.
What did the doctor say?
Doctors never give you what you want, Neil, honey.
You haven't seen the doctor? How do you know the baby's all right?
A baby's a baby.
Let me take you home.
I am home.
Your parents can.
We had a little fight. Long time ago. After you left.
They'll still help you.
I don't want to be helped! The only help I want has a pretty silver point at the end of it.
I tried to drag her out, but a guy grabbed me.
The lady wants to stay. Take off.
I told her parents, and they tried to find her, but Jana disappeared into the neighborhood. Then a girl called me one late night. A month later, Jana was getting sicker and sicker. The junkies were afraid that she'd bring the cops down on them. They poured whiskey down her to keep her quiet and dumped her in an alley behind a liquor store. She didn't know me, but I could tell that more than whiskey was working on her. Instead of getting bigger, she lost weight. Her face was drawn and her flesh just hung on her arms, where the needles had turned her skin black. When I got her to the hospital, she was incoherent. Staff took one look at her and the rubber gloves just went on everywhere. I knew what they were thinking. She seemed to be going into labor, but she couldn't tell them anything. So they started shooting blind. Then the withdrawal hit real hard, and she just started to scream. I had to tie. The thrashing stopped, and they started trying to work the baby down. A local anesthetic got her down, and her vital signs were going crazy. But the withdrawal hit again. Her heart rhythm just went straight lined. They couldn't bring her back. The resident said,
Maybe we can save the baby.
and they delivered my daughter, 4 pounds, 3 ounces, struggling to survive. That tiny body had the same shattering need. She was born addicted, and the rubber gloves were right. All those shared needles had something else. Jana's blood tested HIV positive. Even if the drugs hadn't murdered her, eventually, AIDS would have. The baby's blood test showed the same thing. But AIDS didn't get its turn on her. The drugs had first call. I never thought I'd be standing hour and hour touching a twisted shadow of a child, trying to find some way to soothe her agony. Then my fingers inside those rubber gloves felt her writhe one last time. The heart that wanted to live so much finally couldn't. A tortured lifetime of 6 days. But maybe she was one of the lucky ones. An AIDS death isn't so quick. I had a picture of AIDS in my mind. It was frightening, but it was a picture of a gay world. It didn't touch me, but the picture broadened my mind. AIDS has moved into the straight world through the needles of the users. And the only way we can stop it is person by person, action by action, unprotected encounters. Even one dirty needle can be enough. One can be too many. The drugs, the disease, and the pain. Why can't the world be like it was? No one needs to suffer alone. No living person is beyond help. Above all, remember that many, many people care about you. Please accept their help. It is not too late.
Introducing the cast of Addict, starring as Kendra, Alejandra Zapata. Starring as Michelle, Ana Lucia Hernandez. Starring in the role of Jean, Emily Hernandez. Starring in the role of Luisa, Karemi Flores. Starring in the role of Bart, Brian Bueno. Starring in the role of Andrew, Miguel Herrera. And starring in the role of Neil, Ricardo Evalle. And that is the cast of Addict. Thank you.